The first thing I felt wasn't anger. It was confusion. I stood there in the marble entryway of Morello's, staring at the young hostess, then past her shoulder through the glass doors of the private dining room. Inside, my granddaughter Lily was laughing, 8 years old today. She wore a pink dress with tiny white flowers, her hair curled just the way she liked it. Balloons floated near the ceiling. A long table stretched across the room, surrounded by at least 60 people, men in pressed jackets, women in elegant dresses, wine glasses catching the light. Most of them were strangers to me. "I'm sorry, sir," the hostess said again, her finger tracing down a clipboard. "The party is at capacity. Mrs. Barrett was very clear, 60 guests only, and you're not on the list." "Not on the list? I'm Lily's grandfather," I said quietly. The words felt heavier than they should have. Her professional smile faltered. "Oh, I'll get Mrs. Barrett for you." Mrs. Barrett? My daughter Jennifer had started using her married name exclusively about 6 months ago, right around the time her husband, Derek, made senior partner at his law firm. I stayed where I was, standing in the place that used to feel like home. This restaurant had been part of our lives for decades. Jennifer's college acceptance dinner, her engagement celebration, the night she told me I was going to be a grandfather. I was wearing the gray blazer she'd picked out for me last month, the one she said made me look distinguished. That compliment now felt like it came from another lifetime. Through the glass doors, I watched the hostess weave between tables until she reached the head table. Jennifer sat beside Derek. His parents were on the other side. Perfect posture, perfect smiles. Jennifer's face went pale as the hostess whispered. Derek didn't react. He lifted his glass and took a slow sip of wine, like nothing in the world had changed. Jennifer stood up, smoothed her cream-colored dress, the one I'd helped pay for, and walked toward me. She didn't quite look me in the eye. "Dad, hi," she said. "This is awkward." Awkward. "I gave you $5,000 for this party," I said. My voice surprised even me. Calm, steady. "The check cleared 3 days ago, and I'm not on the list?" Her hands twisted together. "Derek's parents invited so many people from the firm, we had to keep it at 60 because of fire code and—" "And I was the one you cut?" I said. She finally looked at me. I saw shame there, but I also saw something else. Resentment. "Derek's parents are paying for Lily's private school. They bought us the house in Riverside Estates. They're setting up her college trust fund. What were you able to offer, Dad?" The words didn't just sting, they landed. What was I able to offer? 34 years of raising her alone after her mother passed, double shifts at the factory, missed weekends, a second mortgage to help pay for her wedding, and a savings account for Lily that I'd been quietly building for years. "I see," I said. Derek stepped up behind her then, his hand resting on her shoulder like a claim. "Richard," he said smoothly, "this party is really about the children. We wanted to keep it focused on Lily's real social circle. Riverside Academy, the country club." That's when it hit me. I wasn't family anymore. I was history, an inconvenience that didn't fit the picture they were trying to sell. I stood there, watching my granddaughter celebrate her birthday without me, and something inside my chest went quiet. Not broken, clear, because in that moment I understood something painful and permanent had already changed. I just didn't know how much it was going to cost, and I didn't know that this moment, right here, outside a glass door, was only the beginning. Before I go any further, let me ask you something. If you're watching this right now, take a moment and tell me where you're watching from, your city and state. Because stories like this don't just happen to one family. They happen in towns all across America.
I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded once, like a man accepting terms he never agreed to. Then I turned and walked out of Morello's. The cold hit my face the second I stepped outside. I stood there longer than I should have, staring at my reflection in the glass. An older man, straight posture, calm face. No one would have guessed his chest felt hollow. I got in my car and sat there with the engine off for a long time. 8 years earlier, I'd held Lily in my arms for the first time. She was so small, so fragile, wrapped in a hospital blanket that smelled like disinfectant and hope. Jennifer had cried. I cried too, even though I swore I wouldn't. I promised myself I'd always be there. Turns out, promises don't mean much when money enters the room. I drove home slowly, avoiding the freeway like I was afraid of getting there too fast. My house was quiet when I walked in, too quiet. I poured myself a glass of water and sat at the kitchen table. That's when I noticed the envelope. No stamp, no return address, just my name written neatly across the front. Inside were copies, bank statements, credit card bills, loans, all in my name. My hands started to shake as I flipped through the pages. Balances I didn't recognize, accounts I never opened, signatures that looked like mine but weren't. At the bottom of the stack was a note, 3 lines, written by Jennifer. Dad, I meant to tell you. We needed help. I thought I could fix it before you noticed. My heart didn't race. It sank. I realized then that the birthday party wasn't the betrayal. It was the cover-up. And whatever I thought I knew about my family, about loyalty, about love, was about to be tested in ways I wasn't ready for. Because the moment I picked up my phone to call the bank, I understood one brutal truth. This wasn't just about money. This was about silence, and how expensive it really is.
The bank didn't care about explanations. They cared about numbers. I sat in a small glass office across from a man in a gray suit who kept calling me sir, like it was supposed to soften the blow. He slid the papers back toward me and tapped one page with his pen. "These accounts are legally yours," he said. "The signatures match your records." "They're forged," I said. He gave me the kind of look you give someone you don't quite believe, but can't say that out loud. "Do you have proof?" Proof. I thought about 30 years of being dependable, of never missing a payment, of trusting my daughter without hesitation. "No," I said. He nodded, already done with me. "Then as far as the bank is concerned, the responsibility remains with you." When I walked out, my legs felt heavier than they should have. I sat in my car again, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead like if I stayed still long enough, the world might reverse itself. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying Jennifer's face at the restaurant, the way she avoided my eyes, the way Derek stood behind her like a shield, or a wall. I called Jennifer the next morning. She didn't answer. I left a message, calm, measured, the way I always spoke when things were serious. "Jen, we need to talk. This is bigger than you think." She called back hours later, crying. "Dad, you don't understand. Derek's firm. The lifestyle. Everything costs more than we thought. I was going to pay it back, I swear." "By using my name?" I asked. Silence. "They would have never approved the loans under mine," she said quietly. "Your credit was perfect." Was. I closed my eyes. "You committed fraud," I said. The word sounded harsh, final. "I did it for Lily," she said quickly, "for her future." I almost laughed, because I'd done everything for Jennifer's future too, and here we were. "I need you to fix this," I said, "today." "I can't," she whispered. "If this comes out, Derek could lose his job. His parents would never forgive me." There it was, the line she wouldn't cross. Not for me. I hung up without saying goodbye. That afternoon, a letter arrived from the bank's legal department. Notice of intent to pursue recovery. They were coming. And for the first time in my life, I understood what it felt like to be guilty without doing anything wrong. That's when I realized something else. If I stayed quiet, I would lose everything. If I spoke up, I might lose my family. And sooner or later, I'd have to choose.
The lawyer's office smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. His name was Peter, late 50s, sleeves rolled up, the kind of man who didn't waste words because he'd seen too much. He read the file in silence, page after page, loan agreements, credit cards, my name, my signature. Finally, he looked up at me. "You didn't sign these," he said. "No," I replied. "But you trusted the person who did." I nodded. Peter leaned back in his chair. "That makes this complicated. Not impossible, but complicated." I stared at the wall behind him, framed degrees, years of other people's disasters. "The bank will argue you benefited. House upgrades, tuition, lifestyle improvements." "My granddaughter's school," I said. "That's not a crime." "Banks don't care about morality," he said. "They care about leverage." He slid 2 documents toward me. "Option 1, he said. "We try to negotiate quietly. Settlement. You sell assets, maybe the house." The word hit harder than I expected. My house. 30 years of mornings, of fixing things myself, of thinking I'd done something right with my life. "And option 2? I asked. Peter held my gaze. "We go public. We accuse your daughter of fraud. Forensic handwriting, investigations, exposure." My chest tightened. "She's my child," I said. "I know, but right now protecting her is costing you everything." I left his office with a folder under my arm and a war in my head. That night I sat alone at my kitchen table, the same table where Jennifer used to do her homework, where she'd cried over breakups, where she once said, "I'll take care of you when you're old, Dad." My phone buzzed. A text from her. "Please don't do this. Derek's parents will destroy us." Us, not me. I looked around the room. The ticking clock, the unpaid bills, the silence. I typed back slowly. "I didn't start this, but I won't disappear for it." I turned the phone face down. In that moment, something inside me shifted. I wasn't choosing revenge. I was choosing survival. The next morning I called Peter. "Option 2, I said. He didn't sound surprised. "All right," he replied. "Then things are about to get loud." I hung up, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't confused. I was ready.
People think the end of a hard story is loud. A courtroom victory, an apology, someone finally admitting they were wrong. That's not how mine ended. It ended quietly. The case dragged on for months. Depositions, forensic experts, handwriting analysis that confirmed what I already knew. Those signatures weren't mine. The word fraud entered the record. Jennifer took a deal. No jail, no headlines, just consequences she'd have to live with. We never spoke again, not out of hate, but because some relationships don't end with closure. They end with distance. I lost the house, but I kept my name. And at my age, I learned something important. That's not losing. That's surviving. Money got tight, really tight. I sold what I didn't need, took a job I never imagined I'd have. Early mornings, long hours, honest work. And strangely, it healed me. My heart recovered slowly. Walking laps with people who had also come back from the edge. Men who understood that surviving changes you. One of them said, "After this, nothing scares you the same way again." He was right. My granddaughter called one evening. Soft voice, hesitant. "Grandpa, I didn't understand before. I do now." We talked. Not about blame, not about the past, just about life. That was enough. On the anniversary of my heart attack, I stood outside the hospital.
Same doors, same fluorescent lights, different man. I put my hand on my chest, not to check for pain, but to feel the rhythm. Still beating, still here. And here's what I learned. Trust is not weakness. Silence is not strength. And endurance isn't about suffering quietly. It's about knowing when to stand. If this story felt familiar, if you've been underestimated, if someone you loved put you in a position you never deserved, remember this. Quiet men don't shout. They don't beg. They don't disappear. They finish things. If this story meant something to you, hit like. It truly helps more than you think. Subscribe for more real, true-style stories about resilience, justice, and quiet strength. And comment below, where are you watching from, or which part of this story hit closest to home? You're not alone, and the quiet ones always have the last word.